Yes, we must thank you for keeping faith with us. Rock City 101.9 FM in the city of Abeokuta, the voice of the people. Daybreak Show, Citizens Forum this morning. Dele Ayodo is my name. Once again, you're welcome.
And of course, I am Tobi Joseph. Like I mentioned earlier, we now have in the studio the national president of the NMA, talking about the Nigerian Medical Association, Professor Mike Ogirima.
Ogirima, Professor Michael Ogirima. Yes, don't worry about that. Okay, yeah, go on to me.
Professor Mike Ogirima is the chief consultant, orthopedic and trauma surgeon. Prof, you're welcome once again.
Thank you. Good morning, my people.
How has it been? I hope this is not your first time visiting Ogun State, Abeokuta.
No.
This is not.
Okay. All right. Now, Prof, there are so many issues around the medical field, around our hospitals, around the personnel working in those hospitals that have become a topical issue, debate within that. So we'll be going through some of it. First, let's talk about this problem of our doctors not, I don't want to say not wanting to stay in our hospitals and build them. We're talking about what they call doctors' flight outside the country. I know you are concerned because you've expressed it, your association after, but what exactly are you doing to end this?
Well, unfortunately, the Nigerian Medical Association is not in the executive to implement actions.
There are some of your members there.
Some of them, they are politicians, and typical politicians, you can't really place them where they belong to. Of course, as an association, we've been advocating and advocating on how do we stop this. Of course, very late, it's as if we are helpless. Our voices are not heard. Even if they are heard, they pretended not to even know what is going on, the people in the authority. Here you have doctors who have trained for almost 7 years in the university. Apart from them, those who have trained after 7 years postgraduate training, we call them specialists, and they are to be, employed as consultants. They are waiting for 2-3 years without gainful employment. And we are in a country where we continuously need the services of these people. Not only doctors, other health workers. Yet, they are married, they have families, they have responsibilities. And if there are no opportunities here in this land, I will always say it, I will encourage them to seek for where their services are needed and will be appreciated more.
So they can go anywhere.
They can go.
Now, the chief executive officers of these federal medical institutions, are they also politicians?
They are not politicians, but they work under politicians. They derive their authority from government. Who are those in government? The politicians. It's as if the health of our citizens are not in the priority list of our politicians. That is the summary.
You as the national president, Dr. Tested, how you want to describe the situation of health facility and the accessibility to health care in Nigeria?
Well, the facilities are not anything to go to talk about. You see facilities, structures that have been created or established years back, and there's no culture of maintenance. Even fine policies that were introduced by previous administration. I could remember vividly when Baba Obasanjo was in government, he brought in VAMED, program. After 4 years of that VAMED program, those equipment brought in that time depreciated. There's no culture of replacing them. And subsequent government, what have they done? They should have built on that. So, oh, there was a system in place that, brought up the standard of some of the teaching hospitals, not all of them. I think it was a pilot project then, but it was well implemented. But of course, there's no continuity. This is what we lack. No continuity, no, maintenance culture. All those facilities now, and most of them are not working. So, the working environment is another thing. Not only building a hospital, but what are those ingredients that make that hospital work? The personnel are there, the doctors are there, but if you are not equipped with modern technology to work with, you will be working retardedly on the system. That is where we are.
Now, Prof, let me take you to one very disturbing issue. And of course, the reports recently released by UNICEF that Nigeria is now one of the worst countries, 11th worst countries when it comes to child mortality. What can we do to arrest the decline in maternal and child health?
Yeah. One.
Do you really agree with that report, that statistics?
Well, that is UNICEF for us, and they are the international authority that can give you statistics. They measure so many indices. So, except if Nigeria has another body that can come and counter that statement, I think that statement remains internationally valid. Child mortality. What is the government doing? What are we doing? There are things you must put in place to minimize child mortality. Immunization. In the last, 5 years or so, we reached 70% coverage. What is it now? About 30%. And that's why NMA, from its advocacy, we dedicated our Physicians Week of last year, October, sensitizing the government and the populace that immunization is the key to minimize child mortality. Of course, we went ahead to procure vaccines in collaboration with the Primary Healthcare Development Agency. We went around sensitizing the populace, demystifying the impression that immunization causes infertility in some children in some quarters in Nigeria. We have tried our best, but I think that best is not yet there. We are not yet there. We must get to a situation where we can minimize, our losses. The maternal health, of course, we were maybe about 900 per 100,000 live births, but today that has reduced a little bit to about 500. And I think if more effort is put in by the government, early antenatal care, education, and teaching the women, the pregnant women, giving them immunization boosts, and telling them where to go, shoring up our traditional birth attendant practices. You should know the kind of deliveries you should take as a traditional birth attendant. Once you see one or two things, you refer. And if we strengthen our referral system, and coupled with the fact that the access to health by our citizens is purely out of pocket, 60% are spent from personal, earnings. If we can strengthen our social health insurance scheme, making insurance policy mandatory, then we should be able to now say, oh, the universal health care coverage will be wider. Every Nigerian should be able to access health at minimal cost, at a fund devoid of any risk. And health insurance scheme is the impetus. If you don't encourage that mandatory health insurance scheme, then our statistics will still be high.
No, sorry. Now you mentioned the issue of health insurance scheme. I was about going there. because we've tried this so many times. Different regimes or different administration come in and try to pick it up from where the others stopped or try to modify or reform. Yet a lot of people are outside the coverage of this health insurance scheme. How can we work on this so that it will be able to cover more people and it will be more effective so that even those who do not have the financial wherewithal to access quality and affordable healthcare will be able to do so.
Essentially, what health insurance scheme means is that Mr. A deposits a percentage of his earning into a common pool. Mr. B, who doesn't work with government, is a farmer, can bring out a produce. Traditionally, we have all these cooperative societies among our people. The monthly contribution and distribution of dividends, adashi, we call it in the north. If you have that, that means we can tap into that system. So government should widen the scope. Not only the 3% of coverage that we are having today from federal civil servants. We are encouraging states now to adopt the ingredients based on their cultural needs to form the health insurance scheme at each state level, what we call the community health insurance scheme. We are encouraging each state to get that one because they are nearest to our people. The farmers have a system of gathering their produce, sell it to government, and that will key them into the scheme. The traders have their own way of contributing. I'm sure many traders, many market women, they contribute money every day, maybe 50 naira. Such money, part of it can be set aside for the woman. And the woman has a card that will enable her to visit the nearest health center when she's in need of health. That is the way to go. So it's not that everybody will be sick and whatever you pull together as insurance scheme will be used or utilized, at once. By studies, about 10% of people that get sick at any time. So insurance is, you are asking Paul to pay for Peter, who cannot afford. That is the system all over the world. And that is the system we want Nigerian government to adopt. Of course, we will have some hiccups here and there. We will perfect it as we implement it.
Yeah, it was officially launched 2002.
Yes.
16 years ago now. So we still have hiccups there.
We still have hiccups because even the whole country is hiccuping. So, what of the smaller units?
If you are just joining us, yes, it's the Citizens Forum on Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM, the voice of the people. This morning, our guest is the National President, Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, Professor Mike Ogirima. Prof, still on health insurance. Well, to some Nigerians, of course, based from reports from the media, a major hiccup, using your language, with the NHIS thing is administration. The executive secretary saga is on. The sacking, the recall, and all those. What do you make of all this?
Well, as a professional body, we have restrained ourselves from making comments where politicians are at play. The politicians have their own way of doing things. But as professionals, whether you put a goat there or a horse, what we want is qualitative universal healthcare scheme. Whatever they do as to achieve those goals is what we will be advocating for. We should not be disturbed in the power play that is currently going on now. Of course, we need the right peg in the right hole to get maximum efficiency.
Again, I'll use your word for my next question, to power play. There are some Nigerians who have described incessant industrial action, strike, by your body as power play. Is that not so, sir?
Who holds the power?
Well, the doctors see themselves as the lords and king in hospitals, and therefore should dictate and control everything. The other group of workers see it even with their employers. In sometimes talking of either state of federal government also sees to that. An example is a Kogi example is there that because of the powerful nature of the job, very sensitive of doctors, so they want to hold government to ransom.
I think let me put the record straight. Every family, even those working in the hospital, would like to have a doctor in the family. You and I know the stringent conditions, the cutoff marks for anybody to read medicine. If you don't have 300 in my own university, particularly if you, in fact, I know of people scoring 310 and they are not given admission to read medicine. There's a lot of, uh,
And even when you are told that it will take you 7 years to do it, you are
yes,
not sure of the number of years.
exactly. So the admission, the training, all over the world, there's a research finding that the most, the difficult, profession to be trained for is medical. And in the field, when you are even training, it takes you from day one to the last day of graduating from the university, 292 weeks. For you to have PhD from the first day of entering to undergraduate study, it takes you 272 weeks. A doctor that is undergoing training will not go for holidays when other people are going for holidays. Naturally, this set of people that have been so stressed should enjoy the maximum benefit or dividend of any system. But today, doctors are still rated low. Doctors have not been complaining of the way they found themselves. There was a time in this country that the doctor is the second in command, what we call the surgeon general. Of course, we lost it because of, lot of factors. So if somebody working in the hospital, any other health, professional working in the hospital that is trying to usurp that role, traditional role of a doctor, I think that person is making a greater mistake. What you have here is rivalry, envy. And I keep on saying that if you are found in that circle of envy and rivalry, then you have missed your divine call. If you are not divinely called to work in a hospital, your value will be different from the role of taking care of that patient. The patient we take care of should be central in our value. So if we are looking for money, or who controls the budget of a unit of a hospital, or everybody wants to bear that title, doctor, I think we have missed that, that call. And I say, let everybody tell me, if you come to the hospital as a journalist, you want to go and see your doctor. The doctor decides on the traffic flow of that hospital. So who in life should necessarily lead a team? You can't have many team leaders. In a unit where you have many team leaders, there will be chaos. One commander will be given a wrong signal, the other commander will be given another signal. Then who suffers? Is the patient. We are saying, let's maintain the tradition. If anybody is coming to challenge the doctor leading the leading role of a hospital practice, then that person has missed his call.
Now, Professor Ogirima, let me take you back to the issue of vaccination. I can't lay my hands on the figure right now of how much the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have spent over time on polio vaccination in Nigeria. It should by now be in the billions of dollars. Now, does it not bother you that we have to rely on someone like Bill Gates, a foreigner, an American, to come and sponsor polio vaccination on our own soil, where we have billionaires, well-to-do, uh, and so-called philanthropists in Nigeria who fail to pay this kind of detailed attention to the challenges in the health sector. Some prefer to build a very monumental, expensive mosque. Some prefer to build very beautiful and big cathedrals and churches, rather neglecting that sector. Does it bother you?
When it bothers us as professionals. That's to tell you the priority we African play on our health. An African man, we lay more emphasis on spirituality. Of course, the originators of this religion, if you go there, they don't practice religion the way we practice in Africa, particularly in Nigeria. Everybody wants to see, I'm the best builder of a mosque or a church. I think if we use 1/3 of what we spend in those projects, in those spiritual projects, in shoring up our health system, we'll go very far. We'll go very far. I think it's the mind of an African. I mean, it's not only in Nigeria you have this type of things existing. We have so many billionaires, as you rightly said, but I think their mind are not directed towards helping their neighbors.
Now, malaria seems to be the greatest killer, especially in Africa. Nigeria is not an exception. Um, the challenge has been, of course, the world over, to develop a vaccine that can actually stop or prevent malaria. It's still in the pipeline anyway, scientists are working on that. But what can we do to make sure that malaria is reduced to a very minimum, especially with the distribution of long-lasting insecticide nets?
I think the control of malaria is multifaceted. Our environmental sanitation, clearing of our drainages is one. Two, the vector. There are so many technologies that have been introduced in developed countries, even some tropical countries, where there is gene alteration and introducing sterile mosquito to wipe out, the mosquito harboring malaria parasites. These are things that can be done. Of course, when you come about curative, so it's a 3-level thing: taking care of your environment, taking care of the vector, and we, the host, using, pentavalent vaccine that is still in the pipeline. So I think the fight should be holistic. More so, our cities are dirty. Our cities are dirty, and we must work seriously. We must encourage entrepreneurs to go into waste disposal, industry in the country, making sure our drainages are clean, minimizing refuse dumps where rodents will come in, parasites and insects will come in to breed. This is the primary prevention that can be done. Then before you talk about introducing, genetics to moderating the malaria, parasites.
All right. Now, the issue of diabetes. A lot of people before now believe that diabetes is a sickness of the old, of the elderly. But we've seen even those who are below the age of even 20 um, getting diagnosed of having diabetes. Um, do you think we have enough uh, education on the part of the people on the causes, symptoms, and how to prevent diabetes in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think the education we are having is not enough, particularly among our indigent patients. I think we need more specialists in that field. Of course, generally Nigeria, can't boast of enough. In Nigeria, you have one doctor to about 20,000 populace. I mean, 2,000 people. And the WHO, the World Health Organization, recommends one doctor to 600 population. So you see that even among the general practitioner, the body of doctors, we are not there. Then the specialists in charge of taking care of diabetes, the endocrinologists, they are not there. There are very few. I could see some teaching hospital, you may have one. Some don't even have, at all. So we need to shore up the effort in training more hands, not necessarily endocrinologists, people, nurses, and other paramedics who can work as a team with the endocrinologists. Even where you don't have endocrinology, you can have screening at peripheral levels to diagnose diabetes early. Of course, diabetes, they are of different types, two types mainly, the insulin dependent and non-insulin dependent, what we call the secondary diabetes, which we normally see in adults. Of course, the children can have their own. Of course, our lifestyle is there. You see a lot of children now going for junks. We should discourage that. We should go back to our traditional foods. Okay? And that will help us. We are beginning to see obesity in our children. In fact, there was a study by one Professor Anoma in Abuja who said about 20% of school children are morbidly obese. That means they are already showing signs of obesity and disease associated with obesity. And one of the diseases associated with obesity is diabetes. Affluence. Okay? Then we need to teach our people regular exercise because you need to keep fit. People will take, load of pounded yam with little fibers in it, no vegetable. These are the things. We should know how to cut our caloric intake and know how to burn out fast our calories when we take them by way of exercise. These are the things. In Sri Lanka, they have introduced this, program in the country, and they brought down the level of diabetes in that society from about 20% to barely 0.5% over years. And that program has worked marvelously. We need to tell ourselves the exercise. People are running away from farming now. Farming used to be a way of burning out excess fat. People are running away. People want white collar job where we don't even have. So you have a lot of laziness in the system, in the environment, and that will tend to keep you adding more weight and getting
Professor Ogirima, there's something you mentioned that I think we should also talk about. You talk about first shortage of medical doctors. United Nations estimate 1 to 600. We will not, we won't have people fall sick or people from the primary health sector. Now, you just mentioned the difficulty of producing doctors. I'm talking about admission into universities, the period in Uganda and Ghana. How do we resolve this? Because for certain, there's a need to produce from our university. So when you have somebody with 300, cut up at 310 and yet no admission. So how do we resolve all this?
Yes, thank you. The first thing we should do is to shore up our capacity. All the training institutions should be re-accredited and see whether there could be marginal increase in the number of doctors they can produce and other health workers. Because traditionally, there are certain institutions based on medical and data council assessment. Oh, we are giving you 120 to produce in a year. All over the country is about maybe 3,000 in a year. So, apart from that, the government should encourage private entrepreneurs who are interested in, education industry. Of recent, I think there are 2 private medical institutions granted.
In Lagos, yes.
Yes, one in Lagos, the other one in Rivers. Yes. PAMO has started. PAMO, University of Medical Sciences, they have started. So these are the things we want them to encourage. Of course, we want federal institutions, federal university, particularly just specifically meant for medical sciences. There is a bill in the Senate, and it has gone public hearing, that there should be a federal university of medical science in Otupo, Benue State. Such bill, I think such institutions should be multiplied, but within the guidelines and the standards of medical education.
What about using federal medical centers?
Federal medical centers are not universities, but you can use them as a teaching, base clinical, centers for our medical students in the university. Of course, the last 3 years of medical training in the university should be spent in the hospital. So all these federal medical centers could be shored up to actually handle medical student training in their clinical stages.
All right, Professor Ogirima. Some members of the public have lost confidence in many doctors because they believe that they don't do enough. First is the issue of rejecting accident victims. Um, Maybe sometimes they feel that such accident victims or members of their family won't be able to pay the bills once they administer or render service. Should this continue to be so, what are you doing as a body to at least be more humane?
Oh, there are, I've made mention earlier on that if you are not called to the field of medicine, if you are not divinely called, please stay out. That is one of those things. Accident victims, government had come out publicly, plainly to say no centers, whether you are a private or public, should reject accident victims, fresh accident victims, because we know what we call the golden hour. That hour is so, precious for any injured person. You can determine whether you are going, to live or
sustaining
a
life.
life. So that first golden hour should be taken care of, whether the person presents money or not. A national health insurance scheme, there is a proponent of it that derives something from the National Health Act. The National Health Act, which was passed barely 4 years ago, has not been implemented. They are not being in operation. Because there is what we call at least 1% consolidated revenue to be set aside as basic health provision fund. That fund is supposed to take care of vulnerables. And that act listed who are the vulnerables in the society. Accident victims are one of the vulnerables. The government should make sure that aspect of the law is implemented. Once they implement that aspect, there should be an extra fund now available to take care of the accident victims on our road. So they should have a system of who managed an accident victim, which hospital managed an accident victim, and should be able to be refunded. Because it's one thing to say, oh, every hospital should accept accident victim, but who pays at the end of the treatment of that accident victim? So I will still call on my colleagues who are still in the habit of sending accident victims away from their centers to please stop that and conform with what the law says. Our call is to maintain life. Our ethics, our oath we take is to maintain life, and that life must be maintained, because you and I don't have the right to take life.
Bro, sorry, Tobi, let me ask this one, please. I'm sorry. Professor Ogirima, why is the NMA? We have so many bills at the National Assembly waiting to be treated. We have so many acts at the different states waiting to be implemented. And we have so many qualified doctors at this level, National Assembly. Why is the NMA not pressurizing them? They are your members. Why are you not pressurizing them to fast track, to deal with these issues and help you, areas where you need the law, to get the law to solve these problems?
We are doing the needful. We are doing the lobbying. We are doing the shouting. We are using all sorts of, tactics to engage them. As I've said, very few of them, in the National Assembly, in the Senate, we only have the Senate President as
Dr. Larry
Tejo. There are two there out of 90-something, 91 senators.
I'm sure there are just two.
There are two. In the House of Representatives, there are two. In fact, I think one, Dr. Achibong, then Dr. Nwoye, who contested in Ambra. There are two. So, but for now, the enemy has sensitized its members to go and possess the possession. We are saying people, professionals, not only doctors, should go into politics, because that is where you can change, you can add value to the humanity.
All right, there was a disturbing report last month of a fake lawyer who was arrested in Lagos, having practiced in court for 18 years, a lawyer. Now, I'm bringing that to the medical field now. That's a quack lawyer. It is abominable in the law profession because they know what it takes to be a lawyer. The same thing applies to medicine. You know what it takes to become a doctor. If you were to look back and see your experiences, what are you doing to check quacks in your profession? The NMA, in collaboration with the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria.
You see, thank you very much. That's very, a very good question. The MDC, Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, was dissolved at the beginning of this President Buhari's administration. 3 years after that, we have been telling the government, reconstitute this board, reconstitute this council. It's a regulatory council. You don't tinker with it. ASU made the noise, and immediately they returned their councils. That is what is causing all these problems now. Nobody regulates medicine in the country now for the past 3 years. Anybody can come in and practice anything, and they go scot-free. But on our own as an association, apart from the pressure on the government that this council must be reconstituted, my administration has introduced anti-quackery measures. Right now, we have a customized doctor stamp. And from 31st March this year, 1st of April, if you receive a referral note or a medical report from a doctor without that stamp has in it the doctor's name, his file number at the Medical and Dental Council, the institution he graduated from, and the year he graduated. Apart from hidden, security features. So if your letter doesn't have that stamp, whether from a private or a public doctor, that document, that doctor should be termed a quack. And my colleagues are already keen into it. Everybody, I have my own. Any letter I sign for medical legal reason without my stamp, it will bear Professor Michael Ogirima, the year I graduated, 1987, and the institution, Dele University, Zaria. They are there. That is what we can do as an association. At least we are identifying ourselves, and we are telling the public that this is what we have to identify ourselves. You don't have to write doctor on our forehead, but that stamp will tell us who a quack is.
Okay, now, Professor Ogirima, quickly. And you have a medical doctor, a senior colleague, as the Minister of Health. Definitely such an action by the President or the Presidency must have been based on an advice from the Minister. What actually happened?
Politics.
What about politics?
The politics. If the Minister is not in strong, position to move the advice of the President will not implement anything medical. So I think...
No, we are talking about the dissolution of that.
Yes, the President...
Why was it dissolved?
Nobody knows. This politics. Change mantra came in, and they thought everybody, every organ... In fact, that board, only the chairman is supposed to be appointed by the President. All other members of that council, Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, are statutory. All directors of medical services in all the states are members. Then NMA has 11 members. So we now told the government, if you can't reconstitute, allow the statutory members
to
stay and work. But no word is coming on. The last time we met the president of the country, he said, ask your minister. So passing the buck, playing ball with people's life.
That's the question, Tobi.
That is it.
So who regulates the health sector? Is that the minister now, or who regulates?
He's the minister. So,
all right, we have to go to break now for the national news. After national news, we'll come back. We'll still have in the studio a chief consultant, orthopedic and trauma surgeon, and the NMA president, Professor Mike Ogirima. Stay tuned, we'll be back.
All right, thank you for still being there, listening to the Daybreak Show on Rock City 101.9 FM. Yes, 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 this is the voice of the people. This morning, we have with us the National President of Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, Professor Mike Ogirima. Yes, it's time for us to turn the microphone to your side for your further consults. We'll take your messages on the different social media platform. Our short code number 32120, and of course the Twitter handle and the Facebook page.
All right, you can also reach us on our WhatsApp page. Just drop a comment. 32120 is the shortcut number. You have to type rock ROCK first before you send your message, and make sure you attach your name to the message. The numbers to call remain 0809 868 7344. 0909 1469670. Remember the rules. If you're calling, you have to turn down the volume on your radio set, tell us your name, where you're calling from, and then go straight to the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Big Daddy. The difference between a doctor and a pharmacist. The doctor is that person that is trained to listen to patients' complaints, examine the patient, and providing diagnosis, knowing what is wrong with the patient. And this is complemented by some tests that can be ordered by the doctor. And once those tests come in, he complements the finding from the test with what he found from his experience of examining and listening to the patient, and prefer a treatment plan. The pharmacist is that person that is in charge of the drugs. He knows the effects of the drug, but of course that doctor also knows certain, effects of that drug that he is prescribing. The doctor prescribes, and the pharmacist can modulate the prescription. Of course, there are many other diseases that kill faster than HIV. Of course, the health education unit of the Ministry of Health are adequately, mobilized to educate the public on the dangers of all other diseases. I'm sure you know malaria kills faster, hypertension, diabetes, what we call the non-communicable diseases that are now, prevalent. So people should be well educated, and there are other things like depression, suicide in the society, which are far, far more than the prevalence of HIV. Of course, I quite agree with you. Doctors trained in Nigeria that have exported themselves outside the country, they perform gallantly. You should know that of recent, a doctor removed a fetus, kept it aside, removed a cancer or a tumor from a womb, and returned that fetus back into the womb, and that baby was delivered. That is Nigerian doctor for you. So if you give an opportunity for a Nigerian doctor, beautiful working environment that we have been advocating as Nigerian Medical Association, that doctor will perform, even performing in the moon. So we are equal in training and in practice. Of course, Mr. Kola, we didn't get your first question, but the preventive medicine is being strengthened. There is a whole department of public health, unit in various ministries of health that are preoccupied with preventive aspect of medicine. Prevention is better, cheaper, and preferable than curative treatment. Mr. Ola Kelani, yes, emergency patients, accident victims, I quite agree with you. We need to shore up our facilities because we have inadequate facilities. NHIS, there are a lot of inadequacies there, but what we are saying is that, of course, by now, after 16 years of its existence, Nigeria should be perfecting the art of the scale. We are preoccupied with so many problems, just like Nigeria, after how many years of its existence, is still struggling as a nation.
Inadequate hospitals are there. The question from Mr. Shegun Kajola, loyalty and dedication. Doctors who practice in public health service have, private clinics. If their working environment in the public health service was something to write home about, there's what we call intramural practice. Government should encourage that so that less and less numbers of doctors working in public hospitals will go outside public hospital to have his own hospital. NMA is advocating that doctors trying to set up now should come in a group practice. You have multiple specialists coming together to establish a mega hospital. It's better than all these small clinics, washroom clinics, here and there that is not good for our consumption. Of course, the certificate of standards, this boils down to the National Health Act too, is there. Government should implement that. Go around and monitor hospitals. Any hospital that doesn't measure up to standard, seal that hospital. NMA will back you up. I'm calling on government to do the needful. They have the axe, let them hack with the axe. Thank you.
All right, let's quickly do justice to the messages and the tweets. This one from Coyote from Rwanda says, Prof, despite the insufficiency of medical doctors in our country, it amazes me that a fresh medical graduate would have to lobby here and there to be granted opportunity to do housemanship in our hospitals, especially in the south of the country. What's your position on this? Okay.
The problem is across the country, not only the south. But what NMA has done in recent past is to advise the government to centralize training of and posting of house officers. Of course, with 2018 budget, as soon as it is passed, it has been captured that all house officers, both those ones that are coming out fresh from universities and those ones that have been looking for, where to do housemanship, they will be engaged and posted automatically. It will be an ICT driven thing that will be centralized at the Medical and Dental Council. As you register to get license, you'll be posted to where you do.
Prof, can you add the residency program to this too? Because it affects a similar problem. People are also lobbying, finding where to do residency program.
Of course, the residency program is also receiving some innovations. Of recent, there is a law passed at the House of Representatives to regulate the practice of residency, the organization and planning and all those admission exercises. As soon as that law is assented to, as soon as that bill is assented to by the Mr. President, it becomes a law, and there will be an organ charged with,
Well, what does the program set out to achieve?
the residency,
act, the law.
the act, is targeting provision of fund. Hitherto, in fact, the way it is practiced now, individual hospitals generate revenue for the residency program. Government has not provided fund. Government has not provided fund even for the materials, education materials, textbooks, workshops, seminars that should be attended by these resident doctors. Resident doctors, we need them because they form the larger part of the doctors' pool. And at the end of their training, they become specialists and be appointable as consultants in the public institutions.
All right, let's take this one. This is from Professor Bola AAA. Rivalry plus envy from non-doctors in our hospitals is the same from non-academics in our universities. It is government that is playing politics. Abbe Fagumi says, the best doctors in the world that I know are Nigerian doctors. You urge the government to provide adequate equipment so that they can work well
Thank you.
in Nigeria.
I agree with that.
Okay, we have more messages here. This one says, Good day, Prof. I really want to commend you for your sincere service to humanity and development of your fatherland. You are a gem. I know your stand, and I'm proud of you right from my days at Abu Zaria. I'm happy and proud to have someone like you from our ancestral race. May God uh, and Ohiku of Ibira land continue to guide and protect you.
Amen. Thank you.
All right,
So
that's coming
somebody
from
does it.
Malam Ibro.
Okay.
This one says, Prof again, agree that majority of our people are shamelessly dirty. Don't you agree that our environmental arm of government is overwhelmed by the challenges of managing waste that are generated by our populace?
Yes, I
Our
have mentioned
Beta
that.
Township is an example.
I have mentioned that individuals like you can come up and tap into the vast waste disposal industry that is, you know, ready to be tapped.
It's a multi-billion dollar investment.
Yes, yes.
All right, let's take more calls. 0809-868-7344.
Mr. Mohammed, 243 out of 600 sat for the exams in, I think, in the month of November. And that was the exam conducted by external examiners and the result handed over and released the same day. It has never happened in the history of MDCL, but it happened. Of course, in our medical schools, that is the style of releasing results. You don't wait, you don't give room for any manipulation. And that has caught a lot of them napping. If I, as a professor, is going to practice in UK today, if I decide to leave Nigeria and I said I am tired and I want to go to Britain to practice, I will sit down for what they call plan. And that plan, whether I prepare or not, once I sit for it, I don't have any reason to challenge the system. That is the system we have introduced in MDCN. And these students, foreign graduates, our Nigerian, students, trained by our money, by our parents, came back. Of course, we now give them what we call the licensing exam. I must be licensed to practice. If you fail, there's also another opportunity. The idea of politicians coming together to form pressure group should not arise at all. And very unfortunate, they are using one of our doctors who's a politician to lobby this receipt exam. As NMA, I have directed my members, whether you are in academic, whether you are in private, if I see you conducting any receipt exam, you will be liable and we'll deal with you. We know how to deal with ourselves with our constitution. So we are waiting. February is ticking and it's almost ending. The receipt is supposed to sit in February. Maybe there's another February, but I have advised those people who have failed to go and register for April exam. Apart from April exam, another November is coming this year. So if you fail, keep on receipting and repeating the exam
Until you pass.
until you pass. That is the standard globally. If Nigeria is hard by the World Medical Association or Assembly that we are doing all this rubbish, I think we'll be sanctioned, and Nigerian certificate should not be sanctioned. Demola, thank you. The synergy between NMA and government and its agency. Well, NMA is the custodian of people's health. We are advocating. We advocate for better service, efficiency health delivery, and qualitative health delivery system. Where a government is failing in this, we checkmate them. What we are saying, because we are ethical, we want to maintain that standard of practice, that quality of service. So if you are a government and you think you just bear the name of a government, bear the name of a president, bear the name of a governor, if you are not improving the quality of health care to your citizens, then you have failed.
And I think it was that somebody mentioned use the the case of Kogi State.
Exactly. Of course, for Kogi State, it's
the
very
medical situation.
yeah. The medical situation there is pathetic. The governor is busy doing so many things, yet he can't pay the salary of his staff.
Interestingly, that's your state.
Interestingly, that's my state. We'll go back. We'll go back and remedy the situation. Abandonment of primary health care center. Of course, we lay much credit to Olikoye Ransome-Kuti of blessed memory. He brought this idea of community doctor He brought this idea of primary health care center years after his death. Only about 20% of those centers are functional. What NMA is saying is that not we don't need any new structure. Get those structures rehabilitated. Get maybe a medical officer of health, a public health physician, to supervise all these health centers in various wards. You can put a nurse in charge there because we don't even have enough doctors in the hospital.
Right now, what we have
hospital.
is nurses are the ones
Exactly.
directing.
Let somebody be supervising them, making sure standards are maintained, making sure that place functions 24 hours. That place is for immunization, basic antenatal care. That is what we want. They can take care of malaria. They can take care of upper respiratory tract infection. They can measure your BP. You as a citizen, just walk in there, check your BP, check your urine, check your blood for sugar. As soon as they detect any problem, they refer. That is the referral system. So we have fallen short of that. I think government should take that responsibility. We don't want capital projects in all these places. We want maintenance of services, basic healthcare services. The cost of MRI, CT scan, of course, subsidy is it. If every Nigerian is taps into health insurance scheme, all these costs will not arise. You don't have to pay. As soon as you go and it is recommended you have a CT scan, as I've said, Mr. Peter will pay for Paul because Mr. Peter has been consistent. His payment maybe 1% or 15% of his salary every month is more than maybe 20 farmers put together. One of the farmers will need the service of MRI. Not everybody needed the service. There will be money in the system, and we hope they will not, embezzle the money. Tunde Omololu, doctors should be banned from unionism. I say no. Doctors should be encouraged to take possession of their possession. Take possession because we have found out that professionals are running away. Journalists, doctors, nurses, they are running away from politics. They say politics is dirty. Politics is not dirty. It's the people that play the politics that are dirty. So doctors, professionals, genuine professionals who maintain the ethics of the profession, when they come out, I encourage them to come out, take the leadership of this union, and they transform into our politicians we see today. We should not leave that for anybody. Of course, as a doctor, it's not from the day one you are a doctor you become a unionist. I expect that you have built up a career, maybe about to retire, and take into unionism, take into politics, and you make a difference. Quacks, of course, I agree with you. If you go to a hospital today, an average Nigerian know that every male staff in the hospital is called a doctor. That is the ignorance they capitalize on.
Particularly when he's in a white gown.
In a white gown, they hang a stethoscope, but the stuff upstairs might be zero. What they do is that they go to hinterland where a lot of poverty, a lot of ignorance exists. They go and set up what they call hospital. And, of course, I'm sorry, some of the professionals, collaborate with them to make sure they get this certificate of this institution registered with government. I'm calling on my colleagues, whoever is doing that, once the law catches up with you, will expose you as enemy. Of course, for those quacks that are doing it, we are going to catch up with them. Once the certificate of standards are maintained and government enforces that, you see, everything boils down to government structure. If our structures are maintained, are functioning, then all these quacks can be fished out and be dealt with according to the law. Of course, the doctors, Mr. Kola, he said doctor using Google and laptop. Those doctors, are you sure? Have you confirmed they are doctors? Because for you to be hearing a doctor using a laptop, if a doctor is using a laptop, I don't think that is fair. I, as a professor, I don't think I know everything. But if you see me, I use the basic approach, basic principle, and you have another opportunity to come back and see me if you are not getting better. Within 48 hours, as a doctor, I said, and I keep on telling my students, you keep on learning until you are buried. Even the day you have been buried as a doctor, you have a referrer maybe from a friend, that go and see Mr. Lagbaja, Dr. Lagbaja somewhere. Somebody will tell you, Dr. Lagbaja died yesterday and we are burying him today. You deny. They want me to see Dr. Lagbaja and I must see Dr. Lagbaja. So, as a doctor, you don't stop learning until you die.
All right, let's add this message. This one says, Prof, please enlighten us on how to prevent hemorrhoids and prostate cancer from manifesting at all in human body. Bangui Razak sent in that news. Okay, let's go to the tweets. We have some here. This one says, why is it that majority of our doctors reject dying patients just because the relatives refuse to make certain financial deposits? That's Delano Roberts tweeting that. Yomi Philip Da Vinci tweeted this. I want to commend the NMA president on the submissions this morning. They have been both succinct and expository at the same time. Prof, sir, is there any part of our laws that allow patients to sue doctors and other medical professionals for malpractice and influence? Have you witnessed any of such cases? That's Yomi Phillips. Brother Jisha says, Prof, what were we doing to safeguard the lives of doctors that die in the line of duty? Only last month, two doctors died, one in Kogi and another in Ebonyi. Medical personnel insured by NMA. Your brother tweeted this. Good morning, Prof. I think it is high time we expose our political leaders who are ruining our lives simply because of their political interest. Thank you. As government is looking after the welfare of the doctors should also look at delivering good service to the sick. The Nana Roberts, the Phillips once again. It gives me that as bad as our medical system is, ours is still better than most of countries in Africa, especially West Africa. We must play the leadership role and train more people. We need more schools. Professor Ogirima has really said a lot on health with respect to others, but my grounds with health sector is the way it has been run is secrecy with their terminology, which ordinary citizens don't understand. What can be done to make people understand these terminologies? Ayobami says this is the only solution to digest problem. Prof, God bless you. All right, talking
Let me
about
come and let Prof just try to they are just coming in. Of course, prevention of hemorrhoid, cancer, prostate cancer. Of course, hemorrhoid. If I start the lecture on hemorrhoid, we won't live here in the next 2 hours. I think there is a lot of on IT now. Once you Google, you see those preventive measures. For prostate cancer, of course, you have symptoms, and once you begin to have those symptoms, go to the hospital. And once they do the necessary checkup and the lab test, the diagnosis will be made. Early diagnosis is the key to survive cancer. And once the diagnosis is made, whatever the doctor, the urologist, because the urologist is in charge of prostate cancer, whatever the directive he gives you, follow it diligently. He's going to help you. Rejection of dying patient. A doctor should not reject any dying patient. That is against the ethics and against the law of humanity.
Even when the person does not have the money.
Even if the person does not have the money, please, colleagues, you have ethics. Particularly our younger colleagues, they may not be well grounded in the laws of the society. And of recent, NMA attracted World Medical Association executive. In the last 70 years of World Medical Association existed, we've attracted them for the first time to Nigeria to discuss on end of life issues. You don't treat life as if it is you or it's your brother that is dying. That is the ethics of the profession. As NMA, as World Medical Association, we will not support, physicians induce suicide or physician assisted suicide. It is uncultural, it is un-African to help somebody to die. But we must always give quality death to somebody that is dying. Person dying should not be in pain. So we should give palliative care to all those dying patients. Is there any law that allow patients to sue doctor? Yes, you can sue doctor. Apart from the professionals, the law guiding the profession, the Medical and Dental Council. This is what we are saying. In the last 3 years, there is no council. So all those issues are being investigated. And the council, once investigated and you are found guilty, you are subjected to a tribunal. And that tribunal carries the standard of a high court ruling. And you can bring in your lawyer to defend you in the medical tribunal. So we have those structures down, but because the council is not actively composed, constituted, we can't, act in the last 3 years. So you can sue a doctor.
Before you move on, still on that. So let's assume there's somebody who has a case as we speak.
Yes.
What should the person do?
The person can sue
Where will he go?
He can go to the court.
Okay,
can go to the court.
The regular court.
The regular court. The
So
regular
it's
court.
not that anybody has
No.
platform where you can come.
No. That's the mistake people make. But what we do is when we receive such complaint, we direct the individual, and we even go ahead to investigate as an association. And where we find that person, a doctor, of misconduct or professional negligence, we take our inner, our disciplinary measures against the doctor. Doctors should deliver good service. Of course, there's no two way about it. What is NMA doing on doctors dying in line of duties? Of course, of recent, in fact, this year alone, I have about 12 of my colleagues that have passed on, either from epidemics, Lassa fever, or from armed robbery, or they were assassinated and killed along the line, or they die of natural deaths or diseases. So, because of that, we have been trying to convince our people, our colleagues. We have what we call professional indemnity, which they must pay. Our doctors are running away from paying indemnity. That is under the law. Even the National Health Act prescribes that you must pay indemnity. Apart from that, we want to organize a group life insurance scheme. This is going to be a voluntary thing because you can't force anybody to take life insurance. There are some traditions, there are some cultures, that there are some religious beliefs that insurance should be left as a private thing. So, but as an association of recent, I have set up a committee that has come up with a platform, and we are going to have a group, life insurance scheme for our members, so that it can take care of the living.
Let's end it with more messages.
Of course, NMA will always be ready to expose any political leader that is saboteuring the health system.
All right, let's add this one, and this will wrap it up for us this morning. Dele Robert says, what are the better opportunities a doctor can get the moment he joins the NMA? All right, Abby Fabrum says, okay. Yemi Phillips says, I have at least 10 doctor friends who have fled the country. One works in the UK now. I was almost crying one day that she's never had to buy gloves with her money or see a tap not running. These little things matter, and we are just playing with it. I have at least 20 friends and acquaintances who are writing lab exams soon. They are weary and tired. Professor sir, what will you advise to stem this repeat of brain drain of Babangida years? We spend money and man hours to training doctors, and we now gift the doctors to foreign medical systems. Britain and co are pillaging our resources, and we are just looking. Prof.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just add this to it quickly, Doctor. Okay, we have several hospitals. Those who build them, the government describe it in different forms. Mega hospital, national hospital. We have the one in Calabar, the one in Abuja, and all those ones. From your experience as a practitioner, teacher, and of course NMA leader, all these hospitals in Nigeria, which ones can you really say, yes, these are hospitals of world standard in Nigeria?
Thank you. Let me take the first question. What are the benefits of joining NMA? As a doctor,
you just have 2 minutes. So
once you register to practice in Nigeria, part of the registration money enjoys you to be a member of NMA. So there are so many dividends. You can't practice in isolation. and one day you get into trouble. You need enemy to come and defend you. You need your colleagues to defend you. Doctors living the boundary, as I've said, doctors are entitled to explore and go for greener pasture, particularly in Nigeria where the government cannot even absorb what they train, and their capacity to absorb them, yet they can't provide money, fund to absorb the doctors they train and other health, professionals. Mega hospitals, of course, very few of them can cope. You can call, hospitals of international standard, and a lot of our hospitals, I can say up to 90% of our hospitals don't merit that. Some private hospitals, yes, the one set up in Akwa Ibom, what happened? They closed it because one, they cannot maintain services, people cannot afford the service, and there are no doctors available to manage them, to run them. So
the national
hospitals, they are trying their best. Of course, the attitude of the workers there is still a problem. People run away from national hospital because they get there, you have the service available, yet you are referred out. You get there, you have a patient there, you need to tip even the messenger to get so many things done. So that is wrong. I'm not saying doctors will ask for bribery, but if I find any of my colleagues demanding for bribes, that colleague, enemy, will take it personal with them. Thank you.
All right, just at this junction, I would draw the curtains on the show this morning. We appreciate every one of you, those who commented, those who posted comments on our WhatsApp page, on our Facebook page, and of course those who tweeted and those who sent messages via the short code. We want to really appreciate you, Professor Mike. Okay.
Thank you.
I hope you're not leaving Abeokuta anytime soon.
Very soon.
I understand that you have the NMA games.
Doctor's game.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does that entail?
Physician, heal thyself. We have to practice what we preach.
But no wonder you're putting on joggers and trying to be sporty.
Yes.
All right, we wish you all the best. We want to also appreciate the chairman of NMA here in Ogun State, Dr. Abrami Olajide. Thank you so much for coming. All right, that's our show this morning. I am Tobi Joseph.
And I'm Dele Ayodo. I say God bless you all. God bless Nigeria and God bless Rock.